So what I want to do in the next 45 minutes is give you a little background on really where employee referral was and how it is evolving with the evolution of social media technology. Go into some specific research findings that we have collected from the top 300 employers in India, and then really spend the last 20 minutes, 25 minutes going through some specific demos that will give you a good perspective of the product platform and perhaps where either elements of the platform or the entire platform may be valuable as you are developing your talent strategy. So, employee referral is something actually quite old. It's probably one of the oldest ways organizations, and in this case, the Roman Empire used to find soldiers to fight their battle. And Roman soldiers were given cash incentives to bring their friends and family from villages to become the part of the Roman army. And obviously things have evolved significantly since then, but the basic premise has not changed, which is how does an organization tap into the social connections or professional connections within a social network of an employee to build and develop an organization. And I think that has changed over time most significantly is the underlying technology that tries to achieve this very basic value of tapping into your employee's network. And employee referral is going through probably, again, a most significant transformation since the days when organizations went on to computers and specifically intranet and email. And most recently, some of the big employers already have made this as the most strategic part of talent sourcing, talent acquisition, and a part of the talent management strategy. And effectively looking into not only the professional network of the employees, but really looking into the social network of the employees and more specifically the professional contacts within the social network of employees. So why is employee referral so popular? And for some of you on this webinar that have an employee referral program and probably are getting somewhere between 30 to 40% of your hires through employee referral, you probably know a lot of this. But there are others who I know on this webinar are thinking about employee referral or thinking about as a recruitment agency, how can I tap into employee referral? Or I'm a medium-sized enterprise, how do I leverage employee referral? The reason why referral is so popular is primarily for two reasons. Number one, it is very, very efficient. In fact, probably the most efficient way to find quality people for your organization. The recent survey by some of the top employers, 7% of the applicants came to employee referral, but it accounted for 40% of the hires. That is a very, very efficient system. Number two, 67% of the employees and recruiters said the entire recruitment process is much shorter and consequently much less expensive. Because the fact you are going through somebody that you already have some level of trust, some level of credibility, does make that process not only from a quality point of view more effective, but for a recruiter, if he needs to get a sense of where the person's friend stands in terms of joining the company, etc., which in many cases results in a loss of efficiency. You may extend an offer to somebody and only find out 60 days later that although he accepted the offer, he's not ready or she's not ready to start. So efficiency is one of the big drivers. And the second is the quality itself. Applicants that are hired through a referral program tend to join the company sooner because they have less questions about the organization. They have an inside view of the organization through a trusted friend or a trusted colleague. And number two, we did some longitudinal satisfaction surveys And if you segment your employees that came through referrals versus non-referrals, they tend to be more satisfied. They tend to stay longer with the company. And 55% of the organizations basically just about have that they even employees who come through that route tend to have a much better cultural value or fit. So the best talent is clearly a part of your employee social network, and the smart employers already recognize. And this was a survey that was done in conjunction with People Matters magazine, and not surprisingly, 2 out of the 3 top employers want to invest more in employee referrals and how to leverage social networks of their employees to expand their ability to hire more talented people. So given it is such a popular mechanism and such a popular way to find talent, again, all of us who have run the program or designed a program or are running the program, there are some real challenges that make the program new or doesn't allow us to get the full potential of the program. So let's look at the challenges that are typically from an HR side. Depending on where you are in the evolution of employee referral, the first step itself is just the setup. Trying to understand what are the best practices, what's the technology platform, what is the process, how do I roll this program out, how do I roll the technology out is the first challenge. Although we can say, yes, this thing will work, I believe I have seen it, but the first step is just the setup. The second part is, once you get your employees on it, there is an ongoing friction or effort that has to be met, and that has to do with the fact the ongoing program management. How do you get employees informed, excited, and that is designing a program, communicating the program, monitoring employee engagement, making sure employees are engaged. Because if the employees are not engaged, your entire top of the funnel is basically stopped. The next piece is, okay, so how do we collect the resume? How do we collect the profile? How do we do these kind of things? And again, collection of the profile, processing of the profiles, then communicating the status to various people, stakeholders, making sure your employees are informed, the candidate is informed, and a corollary to this is some companies where this program becomes somewhat successful, one of the challenges they face is employees may start just referring, and sometimes the top of the funnel quality starts getting compromised. So again, that's one of the challenges, communication, keeping employees updated, and the last is the award management. Most companies offer some kind of a cash reward or mechanism. There are a fair amount of rules and complexities and dealing with duplicate resumes, etc., and making sure the awards are distributed, and that itself does take time and effort. So one of the things you will see in the way MyParichay and Shine have approached this is we want to make sure these challenges that HR has, we are able to reduce the friction towards managing these efforts as much as possible through socially enabled technologies or web-based technologies or mobile-based technologies. Now, from an employee side, the challenges are difficult depending on what size of organization you are, how distributed you are. So let's say if you are a large insurance company, you have employees distributed all over the country. If you are a multinational, sometimes you have employees distributed in various parts of the geography. So for an employee to very effectively and in a very convenient way find out what jobs are currently available. And rather than having to constantly go back to a certain making sure the jobs are available where the employees are electronically spending most of the time. Then to figure out, okay, who in my network may be a fit for this job. Most of us today have a few hundred people on LinkedIn, maybe even more than that on our Facebook. And our Facebook today has quite a few, almost 50-60%, if not higher. We have really professional influence and power in our Facebook network. So how do I get a view into that? Just getting a sense of how does it work? How do I make a referral? If I have made a referral, how do I get informed if somebody received it? What's the status of the candidate? There are a lot of these communication-related challenges that the employee faces, and HR has to figure out how to mitigate those. Then you get into the next piece of, well, is it worth my time? I did give some referrals, haven't heard from it, and one of the biggest frustration is very long gratification cycles. You typically would refer some people, they go through the selection process, let's say the offer gets extended, they accept the offer, then there is a notice period, then the person starts, and the person has to typically wait 30, 60, 90 days before the person stays with the company, then you get rid of all. That could be a good 6-month process. So again, we have to set some of these employee frustrations and make sure that we have embedded that into our platform. So at the heart of our technology is how do we tap into the social network of your employees that have a lot of professional contacts and connections with them, and try to pull out candidates with relevant background or background similar to your employees, because they are some of the best people you have. If you think of it, whether it's the recruitment funnel of employee referrals or any recruitment funnel you look in general, one of the things that I think we all know instinctively is that if you have a low-fit candidate, doesn't mean the candidate is good or bad, if it's a low-fit for a particular job, their professional contacts in their social network would tend to be of a low fit. Although they may have some high-fit candidates, but if you have a voice analyst or a voice processor, the chances are his social network has more voice processing. If you're a technical architect from one of the top engineering schools, the chances are your Facebook network has quite a few computer engineers from your college days. So, and you probably will have less accountants. So, medium fit candidates will again tend to have a little bit more higher number of high fit candidates, and the high fit candidate, which tends to be your employees, let's say, they will have a much higher percentage of their social network professional contacts being high fit candidates for you. So the idea is, if you look at a typical funnel, whether it's an employee referral funnel or a general funnel, you will normally have a larger percentage of low fit candidates, some medium fit candidates, and probably a handful of good fit candidates. Now, that's the world or the traditional way you would manage a funnel or you would see a funnel. What MyParichay basically does is, for each of these candidates, we then, for a low fit candidate, we are able to pull through his network or her network, and you are able to then identify who are some of the high fit candidates. Now, same thing with a medium fit. We are able to, there will be a higher amount of good fit candidates, and finally, the good fit candidates network will have a much higher percentage. Now, if you aggregate this across, instead of just looking at a few handful of good fit candidates, you now really have the ability to contact, search, get introduced to a very large pool of good fit candidates. So you are not only just getting a referral, but MyParichay platform allows you to then search through the network of a good referred candidate. The second part of the technology is the funnel manager. So different companies may have different issues on their funnel. Some may want to get more resumes. They are less concerned about the quality to start with. In other cases, they may really want to focus on candidates that really are high quality and get through a very extended part of their recruitment. One of the elements the technology has is a company can decide to allocate points at different points on the funnel. And these points are very much like a point that an employee will earn if his candidate or her candidate gets to the stage in the funnel. And then you can decide what you want to do with those points. Those points end up being a very powerful way for gamification. They become a very powerful way to assess the quality of referrals and employees providing. It becomes a great way to get your organization to focus on a certain part of the funnel. And then it actually, one of the most powerful things it does, it allows you to provide short-term gratification to the employee. So there are companies that are using the point system to either give out certain kinds of gifts that you can redeem, or in certain cases, if you win a certain number of points, it's because you have put in very good effort to provide good quality talent as an introduction. You can take a day off and those kinds of things. So if you look at the three broad sources of talent that companies have, and I'm at this point not talking about internal transfers or even campus hiring. One is job boards. So the second is the employee referrals, and the last part is the candidate themselves. So most recruiters, when they talk to a candidate, want to know more, can we get some referrals? Our technology platform basically socializes all these three elements. Your jobs on job board or candidates you find from job boards. Your traditional employee referral program gets socialized where you can tap into the network of your employees and candidates in a much more efficient way. And finally, any candidate anywhere on your talent supply chain, you are able to tap into their network looking for similar high-quality candidates. So for today's webinar, I'm going to focus primarily on the employee referral part of this, and I'll briefly touch towards the tail end about the other two elements of the talent sources. So before I get into more detail, let me quickly share with you what MyParichay is as a company and as a platform. We are basically experts in social hiring technology. We are a group of basically HR professionals, successful entrepreneurs, and computer scientists that are dedicated to bringing social mobile technology in the area of talent acquisition. And on the flip side, helping individuals get to the right job. Today, we have 12 million contactable referral profiles on our platform, and we are adding about 1 lakh per day. And this is just data for India. We have 4 broad categories of solutions. They all can interoperate with each other, or they can operate independently. So it's a platform that you can decide to pick and choose different elements. The entire job board experience to a candidate is socialized on shine.com. You can actually tap into referrals and generate referrals to your career site. If you are downloading emails from a job board, whether it's the Shine or some other job board, you will be able to pull that email and through MyParichay platform do an email blast where you can tap into the social network or the professional contacts in the social network of the candidates who are responding. Your own ATS, you can start tapping to the network of candidates in your ATS, and you can bring in what we call extended referral. You can allow your alums to refer. You can even allow people who are just coming to your Facebook page or your career page to refer. And I'll share with you towards the tail end briefly, and we'll get into more of those in a separate webinar. So the Employee Parichay module is very easy and secure to set up. So I'll share with you how, as a company, whether you are a recruitment agency, a small, medium enterprise, or a large organization, you can pretty much self-service yourself to set this up. You don't need, you can literally pick an admin, and the admin can go ahead and set up the entire employee referral system and platform for you without any IT support. It allows you to tap into the social and professional network of your employees proactively, and I'll share that with you how we do that. It gives your employees to refer via email, web, Facebook, or SMS. So depending on where the access is or what access that person currently has, they can refer. There is an engagement element. So how does the communication go out to the person who was referred to the employee, and as the status of the candidate changes? Again, this communication to the employee and the candidate not necessarily just goes on the email, which can go to spam. It actually shows up on the Facebook or on the mobile. There is a gamification element built into the platform that where you can have leaderboards, points, status, etc. To ensure employees are engaged and there is adoption of your system. There is comprehensive analytics for insights and monitoring. You can track a lot of which employees are more active, which are less active, what does your funnel look like, what different recruiters' performance, etc. And the platform is integrated with your referrals that you can get to your job board or through your Facebook page. And the last part is the platform is an enterprise class solution. So normally large organizations that are clients of ours, they need certain level of high quality IT security. Many of them require international, and many of them want it to integrate with an existing ATS, Connect, Talio, Aircraft, ICAM, whichever you may be currently using. Or if you're not using any, it comes built in with a fairly self-service ATS. So one of the technologies we have, we call it active referral. So your recruiter basically looks, let's say they search through the 12, 14 million profile, and let's say they find a bunch of accountants. Now, one of the things our platform does is within those 200 or 300 accountants, let's say the recruiter finds in MyParichay platform, MyParichay will go and highlight the ones that are first level Facebook friends of an employee of yours. And in many cases, you may or may not even be aware of the recruiter may not even know that this person is an employee, much less this candidate is a first level Facebook friend. We call that technology active referral, because now the recruiter is able to, through a single click, reach out to the employee and say, can you refer this friend for me to me for this particular job? So I will jump into some demos now, and what I'll show you is how a setup is done, how people can refer, some of the process management stuff for a recruiter, gamification, and then I'll talk a little bit about extended referral. So let's start with the setup part of this demo. So what would happen as an organization if you decide to go ahead and implement MyParichay? This is pretty much a self-service platform. So you will be given admin user ID and password, and once the user admin, whether it's somebody in your recruitment department or HR, can basically sign in and start setting up the system for you. And I'll get into that in a second. What you see here is a login page on the intranet of one of the large employers. And what you see here is their referral leaderboard. So they have allocated different points And what this is showing is basically how employees who are referring, how they are getting into the point they are accruing. And then there are folks like, in this case, Jitendra Sharma. He has actually even connected his Facebook account to the corporate employee referral intranet. So I'll log into the platform, and this is an experience that you would have if you are logging in as the admin to start with. So as an admin, you will have what is called a setup menu. And in a setup menu, it's relatively simple. You will start with your company settings. And in a company setting, what it allows you to do is set up the name of your company. You can set up different divisions, departments, etc. that you may have. So one option it asks you to do is, would you like to connect your Facebook account? I'll decide to skip it because I'm really not the administrator. So as you can see here, these are different divisions or business units you can set up. If you want, you can add a division if you want, or you can delete the division. You can set up departments. You can set up different kinds of job codes that you want in your system. If you are running different branches, you can set up different branches, whether within a country or if your branches, the way you're treating them in the course, you can do that. You can upload your company logo. So that's pretty much without, you can, the self-service part. The next part is employee settings. So you have various ways to invite your employees to the program. What you can do, the system allows you to import your employee list, email list, and once you import your employee email list, it allows you to go ahead and send out a simple email blast. Just bear with me. Okay. So if you see, so when at the time of the setup, what you will do the first time, it allows you to import your employee list, and once you import your employee list, it will send out an email that to your employees with a link that your employees can click, and they basically would see an intranet from where they can create their user ID and password, and start referring people, earning referral points, etc. This employee list actually then becomes what we call the verified employee list, and that's how MyParichay keeps track of when you are getting referrals from external referrals versus your employee. That's how the system keeps track who's an employee versus who is not an employee. You can download employee list to manage and maintain your employee list. So that's how you set up the system. That's how you invite the employee. And then so the next thing would be you may want to set up your recruitment funnel. And within that recruitment funnel, each company will have different stages in the funnel, and you may want to assign different amounts of points in the funnel. So you can add a new status in the funnel. You can edit the order of the funnel, whether phone screen comes before or HR round comes before, and you can put different scores or points for different stages of the funnel. So in this case, for example, if somebody gets accepted as 1, and that's all you really care about. As long as the resume gets accepted, you want to give credit to your employees, and you really don't want to assign any other points, because that's currently the focus of your funnel. That's how the funnel is assigned and set up. The other part the software does is it allows you to, on this intranet, there are various pages. And if you want to come up with a new scheme or a new program and you want to advertise that to your employees, you can actually create banner ads on your intranet. So you can add a new ad, you can take an image or a video clip, and then it'll ask you which page would you like this particular banner to show up. So on the login page, registration page, manage jobs, manage referral page, etc. So again, the point that I want to share here is this entire feed is self-serve. You pretty much, once you sign in, you can go ahead and set this up and keep managing it and tweaking it without having to necessarily engage with IT. So the next piece I want to share is how a recruiter basically manages response. So now what happens is, once you upload a job in the system, or the recruiter uploads the job in the system automatically sends out, and you can set the frequency once a week or once every 2 weeks or twice a week. There is an email blast that gets sent out to the employee. And this way you are keeping your employee informed about the job. Now, the recruiter is basically getting responses in this dashboard. So I'm just going to click on one of these as a recruiter. Now, there are so now if you look at these responses, you can see some of the referral type it says employee and some says direct. The employee referral is really coming from an employee. The direct actually is coming from a career tab on the Facebook page. Now, one of the advantages of this is every candidate that has been referred or has come directly, you now have the ability to go and search through the network of that particular candidate for more candidates like the candidate, assuming you like the candidate. So, for example, let me see, let's say Mahesh, I like Mahesh as a candidate. I would like to go and search through Mahesh's network. And so Mahesh has applied for a certain job. So that's where I can go into MyParichay. And I am going to search for Mahesh. And see if I can search through his network. So he is a financial modeling analyst at S&P Capital IQ. So I have a bunch of hobbies. I can either save Mahesh for future use, or I can send him a message. And something like that is when I send Mahesh a message, this time the message will get to Mahesh on his Facebook. So his globe will light up. And if you're sending an email, it may go into his Gmail spam. But what I'm really interested in is I want to look through his professional contacts in his Facebook network. So I want to search through Mahesh's network. So there are 931 profiles that are in his network. So what I'm particularly interested in is looking for, let's say, people in the financial, he's from, so let's say an analyst. And this is looking through his immediate network and the network of his network. So now I found another 6,000 financial analysts that are actually 2 levels from Mahesh. And I can, for example, now go ahead and immediately contact Ashrita. Again, I can send her a message, or I can see her connection. So what we are effectively doing is taking responses I'm getting through Employee Referral. I am searching now through the connections of the person referred, or I can do a general search of financial analysts, and it will highlight the ones where somebody is a first level Facebook friend of an employer. So I can directly get introduced to the person. So that's the recruiter can do some other basic things, like assuming the candidate was not a good fit for that job, but the candidate may be a better fit for another assignment. The recruiter can go ahead and reassign the candidate and update the referral. And if the candidate does get hired, the employee will at least get credit for it. Now, the other advantage is the moment I go ahead and update the status of the candidate. So, for example, I go ahead and update the status of a candidate. Let's say he has either passed the second round or failed the second round. And basically an email and a Facebook notification will be sent to the employee, and at the same time will be sent to the candidate. And the point that you saw on the front page of the leaderboard will get updated. And the system once a week sends out a broadcast to the entire employee community announcing the winners, leaderboard winners for that particular week. So again, it promotes employee engagement. Now, so that's where the employee referral part and the gamification part, and how we ensure that there is ongoing communication of all stakeholders and keeping a very high level of engagement. There are various sets of reports that the system generates, and you can create custom reports if you want. Right from employee performance, if there is a dispute about which candidate came from which, either from a different agency or to an employee, the system will generate some dispute reports, etc., that you can look through and sort out. That at a high level is how we have taken a generic employee referral that either you're using a paper-based method or you may have some email-based method, and combined it with making sure we have brought in technology and social technology to enhance employee engagement, much better communication, and then to tap into the network of your employees in a proactive way versus just passively waiting for employees to send candidates. we are at about 11:50. Guru, before and I want to take just a couple of more minutes to quickly touch upon the other two sources of talent, where again, what we have done is extended referrals both from your Facebook page and from Shine.com. And the way those things work is, again, if you go into Shine.com, if you have your job posted there, when any candidate comes there, the candidate is able to see through the connections that this person has at Quatrro, and then can actually directly send a resume to that individual employee within the company and ask to get referred. The second part is the system actually, MyParichay, whether you're an employee or somebody visiting that job posted on the job board, it will recommend some friends that may be a good fit. So this is somebody looking for VP of operations, trying to recommend some firms who could be good VP of operations. And the advantage of this is it is not just people referring, but the system actually then captures and assigns success points. So whether he's an employee or an external candidate, if you're doing external referrals, we actually will, on a successful referral, the person will accrue a certain amount of what we call move points. And these move points are visible to the person in their Facebook application. So it will tell you how many successful referrals, what is your move score, etc. And we want to make sure that the clients are not burdened with managing a referral program, award system for people who are not their employees, for example. So there is a built-in networking referral challenge that we constantly run that is motivating people on your behalf to refer. And they can win different kinds of prizes. We announce those prizes on a daily, weekly basis. And depending on, it just ensures that people are motivated to refer as opposed to just having a referral technology. So that's in a nutshell how we can take traditional employer referral, which would be paper-based, email-based, to create a very simple self-service platform, allow people to use intranet, Facebook, mobile to refer, and then have the ability to create gamification for higher employee engagement, and then be able to leverage through the social network of the candidate or the employee both to find more good candidates. So I'll, at this point, really open it to questions or sure, Ranjan. In fact, and I believe that we have quite a few questions out here. One, I'm actually running a quick poll out there to understand which of these social networks some of you all have perhaps used in your recruitment. I will go through a few questions for the next 5 to perhaps a little more than 5 minutes. We have quite a few questions here. We take a couple of days and then accordingly we can go into closing this session in the next 10 minutes perhaps. So basically I do have a question here so there is this first question by Rajkumar Pandya. He says basically in social media you have so many people connected to the network whom you may not really know well. How do you check the authenticity of these records? Perhaps starting from whether this individual is interested or even going beyond perhaps also understand his quality as his profile and information. And what do you think? So one of the things, again, in a social media, you get to have so many people connected in a network. Can I read the question again? Yeah, okay. Social media gets so many people connected in a network whom you may not know really well. How do you check the authenticity of referrals? So again, I'm assuming here that the referral is the biggest advantage of a referral system is there is somebody in the middle that is much more of a trusted source. So let's take an example. In the case of an employee referral, the employee is a trusted person and you are looking for more people like him most of the time. So when an employee is referring someone, there is already the validation of the employee, number one. Number two, when I send a request as an employee to a friend of mine to say, why don't you apply for the job, there is a validation from the second person because the second person may decide this is not the job I want or this is not the job I want to refer. And the other piece we do is just to ensure that the employee now, depending on how far the candidate has gone in the recruitment funnel, will accrue a certain amount of points. So one of the things that for example, when a recruiter is looking at referrals, one of the things he or she can do is sort the responses based on the candidate, based on employees that have gotten the highest rating, which means they historically or traditionally have sent much higher level candidates. So for example, on the screen, what you see here is I have basically sorted the responses for a data analyst job based on employees with the highest mood score, which is a measurement of historically the candidates they have presented, how far they have gone in the recruitment funnel. So here, Deepak Kumar has a pretty high rating. Right. And so that is the way to manage some of the quality issues. Right. The second question is from Rajkumar again. Pretty interesting question. So what he wants to know is, except for a few professional social media sites, most of the others are very informal and casual. How do you use that to channelize employee referrals? Right. So that's where, again, for that you need products or technology platforms like MyParichay. MyParichay does is it pulls out the professional contact and the professional influence that people have in your social network. So when you see on the screen, for example, when you see the mood score, the mood score is really giving an indication to me what is the amount of professionals in my social network. So technologies like MyParichay basically look for thousands of variables in the social profile and social communication of an individual to pull out the professionally relevant ones. Right. I have my next question is from Varun Gautam. He wants to know if this is only connected to Facebook or does it go to career pages and also to Twitter and LinkedIn. How does MyParichay work? So MyParichay, the demo that I'm showing you is, so all jobs that you post using MyParichay, you can post it on your own career page. You can post it on a job board like Shine, where you can actually socialize your jobs on a job board, and not just by putting a Facebook logo next to it. There you can, when a candidate comes, they can actually see their contacts. They can see people they can refer with a single click, forward the resume, then capture the move point for it, and actually participate in a process where they can win awards. Then it posts it on Twitter, and if you want, you can share it on LinkedIn. You can tap to your Facebook network, and if the candidates that you find, what we do is we do pull in their LinkedIn profile and make it available to you. So what we do is we try to do not just their Facebook profile or MyParichay profile where they can add resume, but we can even give you the LinkedIn. So it works across the traditional professional network, which is LinkedIn. Twitter, which is a rapid way to distribute your information. And then what we do is we plug all the professional contacts that an individual has in their Facebook network and make that visible or allowed to process that information. My next question is from N. Marwa. His question is basically, so given MyParichay has an employee referral program and there is also the application which runs on Facebook, is this being provided by MyParichay? And if that's correct, then his employee contact will be visible to other users of MyParichay. So how does the system ensure security of employee data? Okay. So you can actually set up the system where you don't want your employees' data to be visible to recruiters who are not your employees. So that's one. So when you are setting up employee referrals, you can ensure that. However, the other part is when today, as I said, we have close to 12 million discoverable profiles in MyParichay. The chances are your employee information is already on MyParichay. You probably are just not aware of it. So, for example, if I do a search for, I'm picking just in general, let's say a large employer. So there are 66,000 profiles from this large employer at this point that are actually contactable. You can send a message. And in fact, the way you send a message is, and you can send a message with the job link and it will show up on the Facebook. So at this point of time, I think when companies think of this artificial segregation, how can somebody contact my employee? Their employees are already on LinkedIn, their employees are already on Twitter, and if their employees are on Facebook, they are already accessible to platforms like LinkedIn and MyParichay. I guess this is mostly it. I'll take one last question. This is from Shikha, and she wants to know if there is any registration required for MyParichay. And two ways we can answer it. As an individual, is there some registration, and how does that work? Or as an employer, how does this work in terms of using MyParichay? Okay, so I'm not sure I completely understand the question, but is there a registration required? So MyParichay as an application that is free to any individual to download. Now, as an employer, you would buy different modules of the product, whether it is the employee referral module, the few other pieces that we didn't discuss today is the Facebook page module, or if you want to post jobs on Shine, etc. So, go ahead. So I'll take this one last question from Madhvi. She wants to know what kind of security does Shine provide for sharing personal details by employees. We can sign an NDA with Shine for maintaining confidentiality of our database. Again, as I said, when you post a job on Shine, you are not sharing your employer's information at all. In fact, what you are getting is when a candidate comes to Shine trying to apply for your job, you are getting that candidate network. It's not the other way around. Your employee information is not getting exposed on Shine. It's the other way around. So let's say you have a quality assurance job posted on Shine. When a candidate comes and applies, you not only got the candidate's resume, you now are able to search through all the professional contacts that that candidate has, and the chances are he has some professional contacts in the position. So we are very careful there, and that's why when we do the employee referral setup, I showed that in one of the early screens. When you put your candidate list, that is merely designed for HR to efficiently communicate to its employee base. It doesn't get exposed outside. I think we'll leave it at that. We have a couple more questions, but we really are running out of time. So we will reply back to all these questions and perhaps share some of these answers on an email as a follow-up to this webinar. We will also have a recorded session of this webinar available to everybody through our website, myparichay.in. And I will keep you all informated over an email with the availability of this webinar. Thanks, Ranjan, for your time. Just one last thought. In terms of one of the things that MyParichay and HD Media do together, which is if we can look at your current employee referral program, either if you have one or if you want to put one in place, and we basically can suggest to you the best practices and then you can decide as the next step whether you want to implement the technology or not, or which parts of the technology. So you can actually, if you can send a note to Guru, an email if you're interested in one of these discussions, we'll be glad to organize one. Thanks for that, Ranjan. Thanks. This is very interesting insight into social recruitment and how employers can leverage social networks to amplify their employee referral program using the power of social media. I'd like to thank the audience for your time and participation on this webinar. This is only the first of a series of webinars, and like Ranjan shared in one of his slides, we only talked about the employee referral program at this point. There are other sessions, and the next section will be in the month of April, and we will get back in touch with you on the dates itself. For those of you who are interested and very much want to make sure that you're part of this, you can write to me at guru@MyParichay. So subsequently, you will receive information from us about our next session.